Most sales teams spend a lot of time chasing after leads that are pointless. What if AI could solve that problem?
Territories exist because you don't know the accounts you should be targeting.
There's deals that are coming and going, and they're having active evaluations, and your team just doesn't know about it. You won't win a deal if you don't even have a seat at the table.
I talked to AI companies, and they've created this beautiful AI product, and it doesn't solve a problem.
What is that balance? Developing some sort of new AI tool that can double down on intentionality, but not devoid humanity.
I call it disingenuous personalization. If I don't believe that I can actually solve a problem, I don't want to call them.
I heard the CEO screenshotting as we're going. I called him out and I said, "You're screenshotting. Why is that?"
Well, guys, welcome back to another episode of Good Business. We've got quite the crowd here around the table today.
Oh yeah, a little table talk action.
Yeah, super pumped to have Lee and Zach in from Syft AI, and once again joined by my favorite co-host of all co-hosts.
Wow, honored.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Honored to be here.
You know, most sales teams spend a lot of time and effort and resources and energy and any of the other things that they spend chasing after leads that are pointless. You should not go after all of them. And that's why we decided to bring these guys on, because I believe you agree with me that that's a waste of time and we shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a bit.
Just a little bit of time.
So the question I want to just pose to all of us here is, what if AI could solve that problem? And I'm setting you guys up. I mean, it's such an easy softball here, but I'm going to ask you a hard question at some point pretty soon. But what if AI could make a change? And the reality is it can. And we all know that there's 1,000 AI systems and softwares and tools and resources out there, and they're growing by the dozens every single day. So the challenge that I have for you guys is, what gives you the right to say that yours is better at solving this problem? And I'll let you guys rock, paper, scissors, who responds to that one.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of sales AI tools out there, right?
Yeah.
Where you have a certain account or company in mind and you go and ask an LLM, hey, give me all of the news about this account, and it'll give you a thoughtful answer, right? But I think Lee told me this originally. I don't want to go ask AI a question and it gives me a thoughtful answer. I want it to come to me with the answer before I even ask the question, right? So that's kind of, and you talked a little bit about at the very beginning, not focusing on specific accounts, but I think it's more on the flip side is there's deals that are coming and going and they're having active evaluations and your team just doesn't know about it, right? You definitely won't win a deal if you don't even have a seat at the table. So I think that's kind of the real problem that we're solving, and using AI to do things that a seller in the past may have had to just knock down by massive amounts of effort plus luck. Now we can use AI in the right way, and now sellers can be much more, they can spend a lot more time with building a perspective and kind of being consultative for their customers,
Going after the right ones with the right problems and understanding the problems even before they talk, right?
Yeah, and what do you think that does for your close rates if you're talking to someone who has an active problem that you can solve? And what do you think that does for your confidence going into that sale? It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you have to think about the evolution of sales. When I think the bulk outreach tools came to market, it was early, 2010, just after 2010.
Yep.
And the reason all of those is you didn't know who to target, right? So you needed a way to scale and hit a lot of people with the same message.
Right.
Because, what else are you going to do, right? It's impossible to go research all these accounts and read through them all. So I think, with the rise of AI and specifically the LLMs, you have the ability now to go read through every piece of information, literally every single piece of information on, all of the accounts. And what's really unique is now you can make the nuanced contextual decisions on, is this valuable for me to even look at as a salesperson? And then, is this valuable based on what problem my product solves? Is it valuable? Can I actually add value to this company that I'm going to go sell my product to? So what that helps take out so much inefficiency as well on both sides, right? Because
I'd love to just go a little bit deeper if I can on that, because that's amazing. But I'd love to know a little bit more about your background as to what was the catalyst that got you guys together to say, this is a real problem and this could be a solution.
I
take the first in that.
Well, Lee and I both, it's interesting because we both came from B2B sales backgrounds.
Okay.
Two very different types of sellers. I think Lee would agree for sure. I was kind of more the I'm going to knock on every door and I'm going to beat this quota down with effort. That was kind of like brute force kind of thing. But there were very common sources of what makes a good deal, right? And you would see reps as they get into their role kind of figure out, okay, this is what makes a good deal. This is what a good prospect looks like. But there were certainly ways that we could go and help steer those sellers in the right direction, especially with AI. So I don't know, I always thought that there's a better way than just I'm going to pick up the phone and call every single person. There's definitely got to be a better way.
I think for me, and I started at Oracle in the lead gen role, and then moved to inside sales and ultimately field sales, and then over to Workday after that before I started Syft, or before we started Syft. And for me, I've always been very value focused on, is there a reason I'm reaching out to a customer? Can we actually solve the problem that they have? And I was always really frustrated because it's almost like a moral or philosophical dilemma. Why am I reaching out to somebody if I don't believe that I can actually solve a problem? I don't want to call them.
That.
They don't want to. They don't want to be called. That just felt wrong, right? So there's an aspect of that for me that I really think the value alignment between organizations needs to be there for you to even interact. Otherwise, you shouldn't interact, right? So that was kind of the process I had. I always envisioned, because all of the data is there. How you find it can be complicated, but all the data is there to figure out whether or not a company has a problem and whether or not this product can solve it, and should they be connected. And once you can kind of short circuit all of the inefficiencies on figuring that out, you can put that problem at the center of the engagement, right? And both parties win.
And what I find interesting too about your guys' journey is, I believe you both grew up in households with dads that were in the tech sales world and had, Zach, you were saying they had successful careers, and you guys started to take that route in a way. What, growing up in those households and starting down that path yourselves, what did you see that you wanted to, now in making Syft, what did you see sort of in your dad's and even in your own journeys that you wanted to keep going in Syft? And then what was sort of the thing that was and maybe for you, it's just I don't want to do all these calls that feel irrelevant, but what was the thing that you saw your dads do? You're I do not want to live that way, in our own business.
Well, to give them credit, I do think I can speak personally for myself. I had a massive leg up on a lot of sellers as I entered the workforce, just because whether you recognize it or not as it's happening, you see what good looks like and what a good team looks like, and the type of lifestyle it can create. So I would say it did give me a huge leg up. Did it give me perspective that I don't want to live quarter to quarter on a quota? Maybe, so that was certainly it. But I would definitely give them a ton of credit on.
That's awesome.
And I grew up with Lee. I've known Lee since the 4th grade. So
that's awesome.
His dad was actually my second dad kind of thing.
Oh, I love it.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah. How about you, Lee?
Yeah, mine's probably the latter half of his answer is and the question specifically was what do you not want to get out of it?
Yeah, I mean, and in the way, and the reason I'm thinking about it too is I don't know, up until early 2010s, maybe even start with selling didn't really change. for a longest time, or it started to change, and it was more of what you guys were alluding to earlier, in the fact of like, let's just mass outreach everybody, knock down all the doors. And I think like you guys saw your dads doing that, for better or worse. And so,
Right.
what did you pull from it that was really good? And then what of it you were like, no, we're not doing it that way?
Yeah, I think the leg up that I had, or the exposure that I had when my dad was in tech sales, and I actually went like a very different roundabout path. Like I was in biomedical science in college, and I went to medical school, and then I ended up in tech. So it was very different. So I wasn't actually like
the original.
Yeah,
like,
I wasn't like
route.
hearing like, oh, my dad's doing this, and I want to do this too. Although I feel like subconsciously it was. So like that was kind of like a subconscious. I was absorbing. He was always worked in strategic accounts, right? So he always had to have a really good understanding of the value prop. And you're selling like, mega $1 million deals to big corporations. Like you have to have a pretty good justification on why they should spend that money, right? So I think that was like a positive thing I picked up or learned from. I think the flip side that Zach kind of mentioned is the stress of like living quarter to quarter as salespeople. It's like you can have an amazing year for the company, and then the next, Q1, it's like you're starting from zero.
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Good job, buddy. Okay, let's go again.
Yeah. Well, and
man,
like
I feel it.
the hard part is like you don't know where that revenue might come from, right? Which maybe with Syft you can have a better confidence on where it's going to come from, but yeah, that's the harder part.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, so I want to actually switch around, because I don't want this to turn into an infomercial. I don't think that's a justice for you guys, because I want to know your hearts, because that's the beauty of podcast. I love Joe Rogan, because after the first 30 minutes, you have nothing else to infomercial about. It's now okay. We're going to talk about the real people behind the brand. So we'll talk about Syft for sure, but I would love to just know your perspective. If AI was stripped away, and there was one thing that a sales team should focus on as it related to prospecting, if it just disappeared, AI disappeared, what do you think the core functions of that sales team should be?
I personally think it should be finding problems that you can solve, right? And getting obsessed with win stories that you have as a company. And then how do I find companies that, I always say this to brand new sellers, like what's the first thing I would do when I join a company? Just go to the website, memorize, try to deliver these win stories and bring those up to every conversation that you have, right? That's you're going to quickly find out which one aligns to what. But problem solving and finding real problems and use case driven sales, that's where you're going to have high retention, more likely to succeed. You're going to build a better relationship because you're actually solving a problem. This isn't a scenario where, hey, Luke, you're one of 10,000 and I'm trying to just get my quota, right? So that's kind of the main approach from my perspective.
I love it. Thoughts on that, Lee?
Yeah. So if AI magically disappeared, like what is the core thing that salespeople should be doing?
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because with AI, the answer is the same, right? Like AI is just better at doing what a human should be doing, right?
Yeah.
Which is like with LLMs, whether or not you call it reasoning or not, you're basically doing that, which is figuring out, learning the product, what problems does my product solve?
Yeah.
And then where can I find companies that have that problem? What symptoms would exist publicly that I can research to figure out if they likely have that problem or not? And then obviously you have to do all the list building and, which is the horrible part, and then figuring out who to go reach out to. So I don't think like fundamentally solving someone's problem, which, sounds cliche in the sales world, but it's cliche for a reason, right? That's the one skill you have to have. And I think that kind of like makes sales like the oldest business model in the history of mankind in a way, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you guys letting me put you in the hot seat a little bit on that front, because I appreciate also for our audience that they got to see the core of why you created this product, because you understand the problems. Prospecting is time consuming. Prospecting is boring. It is exhausting. And if you guys, since you guys understand that as the core tenet for why you even built the product to begin with, it's actually solving a real problem. Because I hate it when I talk to AI companies and they've created this beautiful AI product and it doesn't solve a problem.
Just writes emails for you.
Cool,
yeah,
right?
It looks cool, but it's like, guys,
nice UI.
you missed the mark. Well, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but there's this one tool that their marketing got me. They said, we're going to solve this problem. And when I signed up for it, it did not solve that problem. It actually made it more complicated.
Right.
So I love that that's your heart behind this, because I think any successful business has to have that passion to solve a problem. And that's exactly what you do. Your sales is, anyway, sorry, I'm digressing.
That's great.
I think that's a really good point, actually. And I think with AI development now, and I do a lot of our technology development on the AI and the front end side. So I basically spend all of my time with building AI things. And what I've realized is AI is kind of like a generalized intelligence, right? So you have to be able to, and I think more so than ever as a developer, understand the domain and the why behind what you're building, because there's so many micro decisions you're making as a developer that have massive repercussions of the system you're building. And I think like that's where the domain expertise really comes into play, because all those micro decisions, like you've been in sales for 10 years, you understand what they should be, why you're making them, and how to, teach the AI or train the AI or give the context of the AI that you need to have it do what you want it to do, right?
Yeah. We were sort of joking about this before, that we could go off on this philosophical tangent, but I actually do think it's important based on what you guys are talking about. There's a reality we're facing in the world. And I think, we work with a lot of small businesses, oftentimes 1 to 10 million, 10 to 50 million, and they're trying to figure out AI right now. And a lot of the businesses we end up working with are also trying to do something good in the world. And you were sort of alluding to that tension earlier. And so part of what I'm wondering, and I think a lot of business owners are wondering this too, is like, what is that balance in developing some sort of new AI tool that can double down on intentionality, but not devoid humanity? And just because, Lee, you were sort of having fun with the philosophical stuff earlier about it, but where do you sit in the building of this product to avoid that, essentially?
Yeah, so basically taking the humanity out of AI and how it's being used in businesses. When you mentioned intentionality, and this kind of hits on earlier, it's like when you're designing an AI system, I think helping give it some of that intentionality, like what is the purpose, like what is the why you're doing what you're doing, helping to put that into the AI, so to speak, when you're building it, can be super important in keeping that, right? Because if you, let's say you're building an AI system and you're like, this actually happens today a lot, hey, I want you to like write the best sales emails possible to get this person's attention. It's like, well, okay, it might like go look up their LinkedIn and be like, hey, XYZ, like we saw you went to this college and like blah, blah, blah. And like, there's not necessarily like intentionality behind that. You're just trying to do something, right? And you can say to the AI or help like train the AI to say like, write the best email on that.
Sure.
Or you can have intentionality and say, hey, the purpose and what we're trying to do is provide value for this person. And to do that, here's the information you need, and here's the why behind your reaching out. And then you can have the AI operate on that way. So I think like it's kind of an interconnected thing, right? The people that are building and training the AI also have, the ability to, inject some of that intentionality as they're building it, right? So I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. So there, in a way, for you guys, I mean, you've been in the seller's world. You're trying to fight against not having to hit quota and have good months and bad months. Like, even for you, Zach, still now, as a CRO, being on the forefront of selling Syft.
Yeah.
How do you see that involved in the way that you're even selling Syft, in the sense of making it more humanized, even though it's an AI tool that people, like they could hire BDR, SDR that could do the same work?
Yeah, and I think it's helpful just to understand real quick how we're doing this. We train our models on what problems you solve, and then we go find prospects that have those problems, right? So then you literally hit a button and it's going to go personalized to that event or problem that we found, and it's going to very much walk them through something that's genuine and consultative, right? So it's like, hey, I noticed this, that comes with this challenge, here's how we solve it. Here's how we solved it with X customer with Y impact, right? If we're doing that, that is way, like, the end user knows this is a 1-to-1 email. This is not a 1 to 5,000 email, because I quoted your whatever news or job or whatever, right? And I am coming to you with a perspective. That's the difference. And that's how the real success for a lot of these sellers is, if you're not coming with a perspective and you just sound like everyone else, you're going to be ignored like everybody else, right? So that's kind of that's how we're, approaching it differently.
Well, and I'm so glad that you said that, because I think that it's important for the audience to understand the real world signals that you're tracking to add value to these to the BDRs, SDRs that are doing this outreach. So can you walk us through a little bit more granular on how you do that? I'm not talking about coding. I'm talking about like the theory behind it.
Yeah. Do you want me to cover this, or you want to go?
If you're talking like
what are the signals that you typically track, and how do you identify those?
Yeah. Okay. So it all starts, like I said before, it starts with like, what is the problem that, whatever customer we have, their product solves, right? So you start there, you learn that. We use AI to learn that.
Could you give me an example of that? I think that's probably the best.
Yeah, I'll use Workday as, I was there for 3 years. So that's like the one I go to. So they're, they sell HR, finance, and payroll software, and they're, one of their big core value props is it's all in a single system, right? So a problem that they solve would be if a company is about to go public, or a company is making a lot of acquisitions. We think about if a company is going public, a lot of times it's the first time that their CFO is going to have to be on the hook and accountable to the public. Like, we close the books in this quarter, I have an earnings call that I have to hit in X amount of time, so I need all of the information to be able to prepare for that. So one of the things that Workday helps do is they help automate a lot of the processes, and they can close the books a lot faster, so the CFO is more prepared. If you're making an acquisition and you're onboarding a ton of new employees, well, the ROI of the acquisition is a lot of it's tied to the people, right? So I need to make sure that I understand who the people are and who the top talent is, so I can make sure we retain them and those kinds of things. So Workday is really good at, helping, do some of those things with a single system. And so we think about, we understand the problem that Workday solves, and then it's like, okay, how do we know and where do we look to see who has this problem? Well, one of the things we would turn on for Workday, and we do this for all of our customers, everyone kind of gets their own set of things that they go look for. But for example of that is like, you want to go look for if someone's hiring for a lawyer that specializes in M&A. So you can predict if a company is, even if they have never made an acquisition ever, if they're hiring a lawyer that has M&A experience, well, guess what they're about to start doing, right? If you have a company that, and this happens all the time, like the tire and controller, that they're talking about, hey, like we need to do some IPO readiness, and they'll put that in their job post, right? So we have AI that's reading all of these things, and it's like, okay, they have, there's like a really good chance that they're, going to be IPOing. So that's kind of how we get into, okay, what problems does the product solve? Based on that, what do we go look for? Like, how would that show up publicly? And then can we go read it and make sure we understand, and there's a lot of things that we have to do around eliminating false positives too, right? Because think about, if you had a news article that a company is making an acquisition, for example, well, is the company that's making the acquisition the primary company that we're looking for, or is it the company that's getting acquired, right? So the context matters, and that's some of the things that with modern AI, if you set it up the right way, you're able to really get granular on, is it also in the context that is valuable, for our customers to go solve a problem for their potential prospects.
I love that.
Wow.
Zach, we've had a lot of conversations about some of the ways that you've been able to show even your own prospects, like, hey, I just pulled this report on this signal. and they're like blown away. I think you were just talking about it on LinkedIn this week, but talk to me a little bit about some if you have a story or an instance of a prospect like that, what are those signals similar to the Workday example? Like what are you showing them that they're like, whoa, I've never seen this before?
It's both in our current opportunities and like first couple meetings, and then it's also bringing back opportunities that may have stalled, right? Mm-hmm. But I remember there was one specific one where the CEO got on and I'm delivering value matches, and we do something, we're kind of unique in the fact that we show up.
The head of sales was already on the call, right?
Yeah, the head of sales and the CEO were on.
Yep.
But we do something unique where we show up and it's like custom demo, like it's 95% of the way there of like what you would see.
Yeah.
But we're showing them their prospects that they should be targeting. But a lot of the times these prospects aren't even on their radar, maybe not even in their CRM, right? Which is what's funny about like the legacy ways of having a territory. Like what is a territory really? But I heard the CEO screenshotting as we're going.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I called him out and I said, hey, so you're screenshotting. Why is that? I knew why. And he's like, well, we don't even know, like we didn't even know these guys, but they have a perfect solution or a perfect problem that we can solve.
Yeah.
And I had just kind of laughed and said, okay, well, you don't have to screenshot it. You can just buy the damn thing.
Yeah.
And he did, which was incredible. They're still a very happy customer, which is great. But I would say that's been a huge differentiator. We're not showing up with a half-baked demo that's conceptual. Like we're showing up with companies that you can target. And Lee came up with this great idea, like, hey, we've already set up these custom demos. Why don't we follow up with stalled deals with more? Like, let's just rerun their value matches and send them another one. So one of our now customers, I just kind of told the story at the end there. One of our now customers ended up getting a meeting from that opportunity, that value match that we emailed them in our attempts to get them back to the table.
Wow.
They secretly just kind of engaged the account and got a meeting from that.
Yeah, that was one of my secret goals, is I wanted to use Syft to get someone an opportunity using Syft without even buying Syft.
Before they're even a client.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was
phenomenal. So they basically they got to buy.
Yeah.
At the end,
Yeah. They'd be dumb not to.
Fortunately.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And then we reran this week. I just did a cool LinkedIn post about this. It was like the five deals that we saw that had stalled in the past quarter. So we were like, hey, let's send them 2 to 3 value matches. And 2 got back to me this morning after sending that yesterday, and then we just closed 1 today. So it was like,
come on.
It was incredible.
Way to go,
it's
man.
just like, it's reminding them of the value, not just I'm going to target this account that Zach sent me, but how many more accounts do I not know about that are going on that I should be targeting?
Yeah,
right?
Cool.
That's amazing. So walk me through, if you can, and you alluded to this a little bit earlier, but I want to double click on it, the human component of Syft. So you've alluded to the fact that you do the intake and the initial training or determining what those factors are. How do you determine that? Or is it an interview with your customer that as a part of onboarding, or
as in like the signals
the signals that you're tracking?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Is it all AI? Is it based off of their input, or is it based off of your understanding of how the software works, and then you help set it up?
Yeah, a little bit of all of it. So then there's kind of like two phases. There's the public facing material a company would have on their products, like, hey, here's, and some of it's like marketing blended in. So it's that's the part you have to kind of parse out, like what's marketing versus what's like reality.
Yeah.
And this is how we're able to onboard a customer without them even talking to us, which is what we do. I think Zach was alluding to, right? Like we show up to a demo, never talked to them before, and our AI understands the problem, understands what to look for, understands who to go target, and what emails to write, what to look at without even talking to them, right? So how we do that is we use AI to go look at all their information and get a really good understanding through it, kind of a bunch of different AI processes on what the problem is that they solve, and then what should we be looking for, and we just go run it on that, and we look at all the accounts that we're tracking, because we have all the data too. We've been we scrape and we pull in different firmographic data, and then we're able to just give them the value matches. We call them value matches, right? Companies that they can solve their problems. We're using a little bit of our internal speak, but So we're able to do that, and that's kind of like the element that understanding sales helps with. And then kind of on the human element, phase 2, there's always those things that, looking externally, even if you look at their product, their marketing stuff, that won't be, you can't determine that because it's kind of tribal knowledge. Like only if you work at the company would you know, like, hey, like this specific use case we're really good at, or hey, this system is being sunset. So if you see that, like we replace it really well. So we have the abilities to also then go capture that, and we use that as well. But that's once they become customers, right? Or if we have someone we're working with in a demo process, we can help collect some of that. And so that brings in some of the elements of what the company knows that we can't necessarily get at from a AI onboarding perspective, but that's how we typically do it.
That's great.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. And then, but I mean, and still there's that human element of the delivery. And I think in a way that's what you guys are doing differently than just having AI write your 1,000 emails that you're going to blast out. Like there's still a human delivery in the sense that the seller can take the deep research to a potential prospect,
right. Which it's not all automated where it's
right. Like that part's not automated
right.
with you guys. And I actually do think that's still a value prop in the sense that, and we've been talking about this a lot, although AI is changing our business and the way we do things. And I was telling you this, it's why we do these podcasts like this, and we've done it. We will never, I don't think, want to be a business that doesn't do something in person or try to get face to face with our clients. Because when we get a client, you still need to keep the rapport and keep them interested either with value or with, and I think with relationship. And so there's that added, element to it as well.
Yeah, that's so good. I'd love to know how you see this integrating into larger sales teams. What does that look like for territories? What does it look like for a group and helping assign that? Is it a pretty easy user or interface for multiple BDRs to jump in and leverage? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we can. It's relatively simple. You just kind of map to whatever their accounts they have in their CRM. And you can assign those to those reps, and they roll up to their managers as you would manage your business in a typical sales in a larger organization. And some of the smaller organizations we work with, they actually don't have that, right? And so they're like, come to us with nothing, right? So what we do in that case is actually we can go learn what their product does, and we are tracking a lot of the accounts. We're like, hey, like here's 1,000 companies that you should be looking at right now, right? So that's an interesting case, and they haven't built territories yet. What's an interesting kind of like almost philosophical question in the future is like, why do territories even exist? Well, territories exist because you don't know the accounts you should be targeting beforehand, right? So I have to carve out a territory and give it to certain people so they can go prospect and blast out the information that they would try to find prospects that way. Well, if you don't need to do that anymore, like why carve up and spend all of the resources and all of the time to even form the territories? Because there's a lot that goes into that, right? So can you start with the opportunities that I have and the companies that I actually have value with, and then reverse engineer who should be working on these once we know that there is value? So you don't have to just carve up the territories. But obviously that's over time, and that's not going to happen like overnight, right? So we can meet customers where they are. And but I do think like some of the future of sales might go that way when some of the inefficiencies of how the territory management works in general exist because of an old paradigm, right?
Beautiful. I love that.
And we're working with some large organizations like a Workday, for example, where we've got 100+ seats there, right? Wow. But I would say if you flip that, AI is kind of leveling the playing field a little bit, because before I throw 1,000 bodies at the problem, I can kind of cover a lot of ground, right? But now, if I know exactly who to spend time with, now these small teams of 5 are acting as if they're these teams of 100, right? Because every conversation is the right one, You think of like in the old movies or shows, like if there was if someone's gone missing, it's like we're each going to go like 5 meters apart and we're just going to like walk the field. That's what it feels like with some of these territories. So yeah, we'll still meet these enterprise customers where they are, but they're starting to see a little hybrid opportunity where it's like, hey, here are our territories, but also show us what are the ones that we're missing that are active opportunities, and then we'll kind of divvy those up in general. So you see even the enterprises coming and doing that type of behavior, which is really fun to compare, like, oh, by the way, like 8 of the 10 opportunities you found, like Syft brought you, you know?
Yeah,
That's
like
so
you
cool.
they weren't even in your CRM. Like you had no idea that companies even existed.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So
I love that. I
That's
love
amazing.
that. What's interesting to me too about your guys' organization, right now, so far as I understand, it's just 3 of you, right? We're maybe growing soon this year to add more people, but
as
you guys,
little as possible, hopefully.
right.
Yeah.
Like,
few
I
as
mean,
possible.
you're sort of living and breathing what your tool can then give to other teams in downsizing and saving people money. Honestly, all I really want to ask, like, how have you been able to do it with 3 people? You guys have been growing fairly rapidly, especially the past, 9 to 10 months. And so what have the points of success been for you guys as a small team who's maybe potentially bringing someone in the next, who knows? Where have you seen growth and why with only 3 people?
Yeah, I think you can kind of split that up into, there's like the how do I generate revenue, find and close deals, which obviously Syft plays a huge part in that and being able to scale that. And then there's like the back office piece, right? Like we have to run the internal systems, and then you have to run, customer onboarding, and like it's simple things too. Is like, how do we ingest their products, or if they have like specific information that's like tribal knowledge, how do we pull that into our AI? Or if there's always like the permission stuff, like boring back office stuff, but necessary, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time.
And so what we do is, instead of, and I want to keep doing this until like we literally have to hire people, which is kind of what we do, is I build agents on the back end that Zach can basically tell to go do these things. Like, hey, like we need to onboard these customers, or you need to make these 3 people admins, and like our agent on the back end can go do it.
Wow.
Nice.
And so my philosophy is going to be like, until we can't build an agent that can do it on the back end, like we don't need to hire anyone, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's varying levels of the complexity of the back end processes that you can build agents for, right? You have to keep the agent scope really small, and then know the domain very well that you're working in to have an agent, be successful, especially in the task that, like, if they mess it up, it's a big problem, right? If they go out and like delete a customer tenant or something, right? You have to make sure you're training really well.
Yeah. That's never happened before.
Yeah. It hasn't actually, fortunately.
Amen. At least with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our CTO will be pretty mad at us if that happened.
I can imagine.
Yeah, just a bit. So that's kind of how on the back office we're trying to scale.
Sure.
And
So
then,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was just for some clarification, again, a lot of small businesses listening to this are still new to AI. And so just really quick, as you're building AI agents within your organization, just a quick overview of what does that actually mean? Like, are they, for some people out there, they're thinking of like little iRobots running around making stuff
They don't have
happen.
bodies, so.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, Elon Musk will hope
We're in the right city for it.
He's trying to change that.
Yeah.
Which is funny because hardware is one of the biggest areas of investment right now. They're trying to figure that out. Okay, so how do you define an agent? There's a lot of arguments on what that is. Like, what's like an AI workflow versus what's an actual agent.
Right.
So how
Versus like a chat bot.
Right. So how I define it is it's an AI that you give it a goal or a task to accomplish, but you don't necessarily tell it how, but you give it what's called tools to go accomplish it. And so you tell it that, and it can go do it.
Yeah.
Right. So, hey, like I want to upload these customer stories for one of our customers, and like you just like throw the information at it, and it goes, okay, I have it. What information do I have? All right, what tools do I have to go accomplish this? Like, okay, I can upload. I have like an API that I can upload here. I have like, to do that, I need to get the right tenant name, and I need to get the right user. Like all things that are boring but like necessary. and it has tools that can go do it.
Sure.
But you never tell it how to do it. You just give it the task and you give it the tools to do it. So that's how I define an agent. And it's kind
That's
of
good.
like everyone has it differently, but a true agent, like, you don't predefine what it's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You give it tools and a task, and it figures out how to get there.
Yeah. I love it.
That's so good. So I would love to kind of pivot and talk a little bit more about the future. And when it comes to the philosophy tied to what you guys are doing, real quick, do you feel like Syft is a good solution for all businesses, or just for enterprise level, or something in between?
We've been targeting B2B sales organizations that have some sort of motion towards the mid-market or enterprise, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of been where
So
we've
like
been
100 million
focused.
plus, 50 million
Yeah,
plus?
absolutely. That's a slam dunk.
Gotcha.
We started with software and software services because that's what we know.
Yeah.
But we started expanding into other areas like recruiting and other niche implementation services that have been helpful, even marketing agencies, all sorts of things. So, if they can define very clearly who they're looking for and the problem they solve, we can do a good job of going and finding that.
Yeah. I like that question because I always think about sales, and this kind of gets back to like my initial like moral and philosophical thing on sales is like, if you can't tell me who's not a good fit for your product, like, are you really being intentional on who is a good fit for your product,
So
right?
good.
So I think like kind of to Zach's point earlier, like for Syft specifically, like if you sell something that's like relatively commodity and or it's very hard for you to articulate the problem you solve and like who specifically you solve it for and like where to look, that's an area that like any tool is not going to be great that's like value selling, right? And then the other spot, and this is a function of anything, digital, is like if your target market is like auto shops that don't hire anyone on LinkedIn and have no website and stuff, like that's your target market, like that's obviously not a good fit for Syft.
Yeah.
Totally makes
So
sense.
cool.
Totally makes sense. Okay, so thank you for that background. When it comes to the future of this company, of Syft, and frankly, just how you see humans interacting with Syft in the next 5 years, what do you see that growth plan looking like? And specifically for those BDRs, SDRs, what do you see that product roadmap doing for them?
Yeah, I think I see, and this gets to how far can AI go in sales, right? I think I see Syft offloading basically anything that you need to do to figure out like what is the value alignment between who the person I'm going to go talk to is or to the person that I would like to be talking to, right? And that touches a ton of areas. So you can kind of focus on just, the human side of interacting with people and having a good reason to. And when you sit down at the table like this, right? Like at the center of it, there's a value and a reason we're being here or we're talking, right? And Syft owning everything around that, right? So you can start to enrich once you have that value space, that value understanding between our customers and who that they might be talking to. You can enrich any process in sales with that, right? Because that's the fundamental piece of sales, right? Whether it's a customer just had a call and has call notes, it's like, okay, well, here's the value alignment. What in that call was said that's important? Or if you're going to go send an email, there's a million emails being sent in your outreach, like, okay, well, how does Syft touch those and how can we enrich and help those be more intentional? On the CRM side, there's areas that you can go do that. So I actually see Syft working behind the scenes a lot. And I have kind of a saying, like the best way to use Syft is to not use Syft, because like we want to do it for you, right? Just give you like, just surface when you need it. And, not have to go use a UI that you have to click around a million times. You have to figure out what to do. Like, are you a tool or are you, helping someone and providing the answer when they need it? So I think kind of almost invisibly supporting the users wherever they are. And as it relates to how can they add value to their prospect or customers, like Syft can fill those gaps.
What's a success story that you, and if you need to change company names or something like that, that's fine. But like, I'd love to hear a success story of you guys identified the problem, and you've mentioned a few, but maybe expand on those a little bit.
Yeah.
And what was the outcome?
Yeah, there was a local IoT company that we just sold to recently. They had mostly, for the most part, not a formal outbound process, right?
Okay.
It was a lot of indirect channels through their partnerships, as well as marketing to inbound, or maybe at best campaigns that were going out, right? So we very clearly showed in a custom demo that there were companies that had these IoT problems, but were unknown. They came on and it was cool. We created this joint Slack channel and we created this competition. First to 3 meetings was going to get a Syft Yeti kind of thing,
Nice.
right? And they blew that out of the water right away.
Wow.
They had, I think it was 10 meetings created in the first 3 weeks. But you have to remember, these are not 10 random meetings of unqualified people. These are 10 companies that have stated they're trying to solve something. And then we know exactly who to target, and they're getting in touch with the right people in the right meetings. And it was so cool because they just kept sending us screenshots of the responses. And I was like, yeah, that's actually exactly what we're working on. And this is what we want to talk about in our intro call. So like they knew it was like an instant SQL, if that's what they call it.
Yeah.
And we were playing around, like maybe we need like a new version of a SQL as like a Syft qualified lead.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, but those types of win stories, just like we have been doing incredible in sales, but it's those when your customers are successful, that's the real win story. It was super cool. A different customer came on a month ago, and it was the example that we did in the onboarding. We hit send, and that person responded while we were on the call with her, still setting it up.
Oh my
I cannot
goodness.
promise anyone results that fast.
Yeah.
But that was like a 1 of 1 batting 1,000. It was incredible.
Well, what kind of ROI are we talking about? I mean, obviously pricing is subject to change and all that kind of stuff, but is it like a 1 to 10? I mean, what are we talking about? Like with this example client?
Well, I mean, it's really difficult to quantify, honestly, right? Like if you think about the number of jobs that you would have to hire to solve for what Syft is solving for, it's quite impressive, right?
Yeah.
And then we're doing that at like half of a head count or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
we were talking about like a couple, maybe a handful of BDRs that you potentially could replace, but it's sort of difficult to tell.
Yeah, and I don't like to say like we're replacing people.
Right,
I like
because
to,
that's going to make it hard to get the people to want to adopt
I like
it.
to like I very confidently said this to a customer recently is, hey, I would rather have 3 SDRs using Syft than the 10 that you have doing it the way you're doing it today.
So good.
Right? Which was pretty challenging. But it was very obvious that the way they were doing it was still in like 2013, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And spray and pray and hope and all these sorts of things.
Well, and I think this is where it comes back to the intentionality of what you guys do. We were just talking to someone else who today was struggling with like selling in a new industry, in a new market. And he was like, well, I'm buying all the leads lists and I'm reaching out, like thousands of people he's just reaching out to and nothing's dropping. And I was like, well, when was the last time you just identified 10 of them who you knew potentially were actually clients and you tried to meet with them without the agenda?
Pick up the phone.
Right? Like what's cool to me about Syft, and what's funny, but guys, I've mentioned it in like 3 or 4 other episodes this season so far. So, because I've been so excited about this conversation.
You keep doing that. That's good.
Yeah.
We're okay with
Unpaid.
it. Yeah.
Not sponsored, but I think at the end of the day, to me, what I love about it, because I mean, it's just, I'm a people person. I love intentionality. I love getting coffee with people. I love doing that. And so as a seller, my biggest question is like, how can I do more of that with the intentionality?
Yeah.
Not like this past 20 years spray and pray model, because at the end of the day, you want to give value.
Yeah.
I was just really excited about that.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a question in there, but I'm gonna tack one on.
I have no question. I was just pumped about it.
No, I'm pumped about it too. So how could people use this poorly? In other words, how could someone sign up for this and use it in a way that it wasn't designed to be used?
Yeah. First, you'd have to delete what our AI
That's fair.
onboarded for you, because our AI, when we onboard them, like we set it up. But if you deleted that and told our AI that you do something you don't, that would be using it poorly. Because it'll believe you that you do it, right?
What kind of parameters do you have on that right now?
When we create it, well, we go and look at it and we review it constantly, and we'll have like a different AI process that goes and challenges like the first one, right? So you kind of like check for things like hallucinating and those kind of things. And then like our customers, you have to review it at the end of the day, right? And I kind of view it on like a couple like steps. You know, when you have AI that can automate things for you, the biggest thing you're scared of is, will it say something that's not true?
Yeah, right.
And so there's an aspect of like, when you're building an AI system for your customer, is they're going to want to validate that the products, you understand their products is right. They want to validate that the messaging you're writing is right. So I feel like at first, when you onboard a customer, they probably are a little bit more, you know, we want to review it before we hit go. And then eventually, like once you've earned their trust, like once your AI has earned their trust, you can start being more and more automated, and you know the messaging is good, and you know you're not using it the wrong way.
Or do you think there's any misconception about how Syft works? Like when you're talking to folks, where they expect it to do something that it doesn't do, or where they're surprised that it does do something that they didn't realize?
I haven't ran into it yet. And one of like the design philosophies that I have, and I do a lot of our like user experience and UI design, is like it just needs to be simple. And it just needs to be high quality. Like if a user can use it wrong, that's not their fault, that's our fault, right?
I love it.
So like we want you to be able to log in and use Syft, and with like a click of a button, like you can do your prospecting in the morning on, you know, Monday morning or whatever it is. So like we want to make it so simple, you can't do that, right?
Okay, so that's
good.
super helpful.
Man, it's been a lot of fun.
Okay, I can rapid fire a few real quick. Feel free to just churn through them if you want, but most overrated sales activity this year, go.
Most overrated? Dumping well, I guess that wouldn't even be rated well. I was going to say dumping a bunch of contacts into an outreach tool and just blasting it when it's completely irrelevant.
Because it's still happening.
Yeah.
Well, so that's not, I don't know if that's overrated, but I guess what I will say is overrated is, I call it disingenuous personalization. When you use an AI tool to write an email for you that just goes and looks at your LinkedIn, it's like, oh, like I saw this
you
about
commented.
Or like, hey, like I saw this little sentence on your website. And it's like, and it has nothing to do with what they're trying to sell. Like, oh, like, hey, like I saw that you are a sales company. You know, do you want to buy my ship manufacturing software? And like, but the first part was like AI tailored, and I'm like, it's super overrated to send AI emails, but like the reality is they're disingenuous personalization. And so I think if you don't do it right, like that's super overrated. And I think a lot of people are figuring that out.
Yeah, I think
you add anything to that?
Well, I was gonna share a different one.
Bring it.
And it's kind of along the same lines, but like the launch of the AI SDR came out, and that has taken spray and pray to the next level, right? It doesn't get tired, it doesn't sleep, it doesn't complain either. That's the best part. But
its pay is great.
And it doesn't ask for a commission check either.
But just the fact that you can do a AI generated email doesn't mean that it's good. Right? So what's tough is they show early promise because they've blasted your TAM, right? And they will stumble upon something, but then they've also, the law of diminishing returns is crashing.
Oversaturates the market.
Because you've burned your entire TAM almost for the negative, right? From a brand recognition and all these sorts of things. So like what I would say, and Lee's told me this a million times, it's not what you do that matters, it's like the how you do it and the quality of the output, right? Good. So it's like, I had a competitive scenario yesterday, and they're like, well, these people do AI generated emails. What do you guys do? I was like, okay, well, I went and screenshotted the competitors, and this is on their website, right? So like you have to put your best foot forward on your own website, right? And I put that and I juxtaposed it to Syft's messaging, and it was one of their value matches. So it was like, it was so obvious that ours was contextually relevant, and the other one was just like, hey, saw you visited our website. You know, it's like brutal.
The reality is with any sales system, like if you don't first understand the value of why you're reaching out, no matter what you do, it's not going to be
it's
good.
lazy.
You might get lucky, but like it's not going to be good, right? So you have to have the quality first, and then you can scale it. If you don't do it in that order, you're just scaling junk. And maybe the junk is a little bit better written if AI writes it. But it's still junk, right?
I love that.
So true. All right. Most underrated this year. What's the most underrated sales tactic this year?
Other than Syft.
Yeah, that's a good. Come on.
I love a good personalized one-to-one video, and our man Luke does it the best.
Oh, he
right?
does, man.
That's
why I hired him.
Yeah, I went back to my inbox with Luke to try to get the genesis. When did we officially meet? And it was a video intro.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, it was.
Listen, guys, if you want my playbook, go to Luke Fraser. I'm just kidding.
Just like Mark Cuban on his interview the other day, he said costplusdrugs.com like 11 times. You know, it was like at the end you knew what it was.
The video.
Yeah.
I think
did he send one from his sauna?
He did send it with a coffee in his hand.
Okay,
so, I mean, which is very on brand.
That's very on
for
brand.
Luke.
Yeah.
That was old school.
Sauna was old school.
It was old school.
He was preparing. It was with the pour over or whatever. So he's got like a very clear technique.
He does. He does.
But yeah, I do think personalized one-to-one video is very important. But like, who should you be targeting?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. That's probably you waste all that time if it's the wrong person.
Seriously.
I actually agree with that though.
Yeah. If you do know who to target, now I'm going to put all my effort into building a perspective and being creative like you did.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I'll note about that too, because the intentionality matters. Who are you talking to? And what are you saying in that video?
Yeah.
And oftentimes, I mean, you probably got one of mine. Oftentimes it's just like, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is like, because of who I am and the nature of the business that we're in.
Yeah.
We're fighting against really bad actors in the marketing game who are like, we'll 10x your, they're sending those emails that are like, we'll 10x your leads tomorrow because you breathe. And so I'm also playing a game against that. But anyway, your perspective, Lee, on the most underrated. Was it underrated? Is that what we're talking
underrated.
about? Right.
Yep.
No, it's funny. I actually was trying to think about it, and I got to the same answer. Like, and I mean, like, maybe it's not a video, but super high intentionality and high quality outreach to a single person that you know, like if you could work with them, like you would knock it out of the park. Like you would make whatever they're doing so much better, or whatever it is. I think everyone, especially in the AI era, everyone is so focused on how do I scale whatever it is. They forget that, hey, like you could slow down and spend 30 minutes if you know this one account is like great for you. Just like slow down.
Oh, it's so good.
Be really intentional about what you're going to build, what you're going to write, or if you're going to record a video. Clearly that works. So you got to start with value. Right. If you don't understand the value and the why you're doing whatever you're doing, like it's inherently disingenuous. Because like you're just selfishly trying to get a deal or have someone talk to you. Right.
So good. Guys, this convo has been amazing. I love hearing all about Syft, and I'm sure our audience has too. I can see it now. Their wheels are spinning. I can see you guys. I know it's weird, but the wheels are spinning. How can I leverage this for my growth? I have two clients in mind right now who, one, they monitor weather patterns, and based off of the weather determines whether someone fits in their target demographic. And a single close for them would be a $2 million deal. So for them, like having a tool that can track signals very clearly, huge. And so anyway, that's just one. And then another one is a builder supply company that is across the country. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I know several of their salespeople, and they spin their wheels, literally driving out to job sites. But the internet is filled with information about upcoming projects
Yeah.
and municipal and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. And so being able to plug triggers and signals in there is
good.
huge. So anyway, I'm excited to see the development and the continued growth of Syft. And guys, I would highly recommend you connect with, is that, Zach, you're the point of contact, right?
Yeah, and you can, it's
Okay. I'm sure Lee would love to talk to you too. But
It's Syft with a Y, SYFT,
Yes.
AI.com is how you can reach us.
SyftAI.com. Yeah.
I love it.
Love it. Love it.
As we close the episode, we've been doing a really fun through line, kind of to connect all of our guests. You got to come to dinner last night, which was really fun with some of the other guests, but we have been asking everyone to leave a question for the next guest. And so I've got two separate questions for you.
I was like, oh, you get to lead too?
Zach, we'll start with you.
Uh-oh.
And this question was from our good friend Scott Frazier, and he just simply asked, and I think this is actually going to be perfect for you guys, having gone down the road that you went down. But what wisdom would you have for, I'm going to say your younger self, but I'll phrase it this way: what wisdom do you have for kids coming out of college who maybe want to get into the sales world,
Starting
or just
their career.
Yeah, and they're starting their career, and they're like, maybe they were like you, and they're like, I'm going to go after all the things. Like, what kind of wisdom would you give them, given your journey?
Well, I'd first go back to college, and it's not just not go back to college if you're graduating, but in college,
Likely story.
in college, take things that are in the common curriculum that just excite you, not just because you're like getting the easy 4.0 or whatever. Like, you don't care about, like, if you do care about wood making or pottery, whatever, do that, but no one looks at your GPA after your first job, right? So
no one's ever looked at my resume.
Yeah, so if you are even going to college in the future, like, I would say go and do things that excite you.
That's great.
Right? Because like, I would go back, and I do have some things that, like, I was telling Lee, I took a class on black hole physics, of all things.
Brilliant.
Right? Or it's like I'm learning about outer space, and that has nothing to do with what I do now, but it was very interesting to me at the time.
Yeah.
And I minored in microeconomics and all these sorts of things, which now is very relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, coming into the workforce, I would say, don't be afraid to get like 3 or 4 or 5 mentors, right? And you never know, they might just hire you one day. But they will teach you things that are outside of your role that you can apply in your daily life.
Really good.
And it's I did that myself, and my mentor ended up hiring me.
Nice.
And I had one of my best years ever, which was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. Curiosity is a real winner.
Yeah.
If you're willing to follow it. I appreciate that. Lee, I've got a different question from Scott.
I was like, man, I
for
like that
you.
one.
I know, that's a good one. I actually think you might appreciate this, just given your love of intentionality and humanity and just sort of philosophical studies and ideas. And your open thoughts on this, but how do you think as a country we can, and thinking about just like, not necessarily politics, but just division of belief systems and
Everything that's happened this week.
His question is much better.
Yeah. Can I just go back to the wisdom one?
Yeah.
But more of just like, from your perspective, how do you think we could get back to a place where you could sit across from somebody, have complete differences, but be willing to have a conversation?
Yeah, I think, there's two things. I think one is somehow we've just started focusing on what makes us different instead of what makes us the same. And I think there's usually a lot more that makes us the same, especially in the US, right? Like, we started as a melting pot. So you came here and so I think that's a big one. And then as far as like sitting down at the table and like having the conversation, I think, and I actually ask this sometimes, like in conversations like that kind of get heated. It's like, if there's an idea on the table, what could you hear? Like, what would you need to hear to change your mind?
It's powerful.
And asking that and knowing that yourself about the topic.
Yeah.
Because it does a lot of things. One, it makes you like realize like, okay, I might just be following a belief that like, do I really believe it, or am I just emotionally responding? So I think that's a big one. And you understand, like, is the other person thinking that way too, or are they just being emotional? And are you not going to make progress? Like if you're trying to be rational in return,
Mm-hmm.
like meeting emotion with rationality is not going to be a big winner. So I think like that helps understand the person you're talking to, and I think it helps understand yourself.
Yeah.
On, am I willing to change my mind? Do I understand my belief? What would I need to hear to change my mind?
Yeah.
And if you can't answer that, like the conversation's not worth having, because
Right.
if there's nothing you can say to change their mind, like
Yeah.
don't try.
Lee, I respect that so much, and I appreciate that.
It
Thank you for
takes a lot
putting
of
that out into the world.
humility. It takes a lot
Yeah.
of humility to even get there, I think.
It's very hard to do, I think.
Yeah, no,
Especially on
that's
especially
not
on the
easy.
ones-
That was not an easy question.
Yeah.
So
You
I
took that
love the
one
perspective.
Really well. Good job, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Scott shared it, I was like,
I can answer the sales.
Yeah. Can I go back to the but I think I honestly
So much wisdom right there.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was a really good wisdom thing. I do think for kids that are actually growing up in a world that's been so polarizing, in a country that's been so polarizing, like could it be worth it to be humble enough to get on the other side of the table and try to see it from the other person's perspective?
Yeah.
At minimum, you don't have to agree with them.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
And to really close it out, we've never done two, so this is awesome. Could be fun, could be serious, could be deep.
just one from both of them, or are we getting two questions?
I'm gonna get two questions.
Okay,
I'm gonna get two
all
questions
right.
if you guys are willing.
So you don't have to like consult.
No, you don't have to consult and agree on one. Just separately.
Share notes.
Separately, what question do you have for the next guest? Whoever's ready to go first.
I mean, I have one I can throw out there. Of course, it leads to like a philosophical discussion.
That's fine.
Probably.
That's fine.
Do it.
Then maybe you stay on fun and party. I don't know. Just
Yeah, I think there's the cliche question like, what would you do if like anything you couldn't fail? I think actually a better spin on that question is, what would you do if you knew everything you did was gonna fail?
whoa.
Right, and ideally you know the answer to both, right? And even better if those are both the same, then you're like living the life that you want to be living, right?
I love it. Wow. I need to go sit in a corner for a little bit. That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Zach?
Just because we're looking at bringing someone on, it was fresh in my mind of
Yeah.
like, what is the single trait of someone that you're looking for in a new hire that has nothing to do with the job?
Nice.
I like that one.
That's awesome. Is there a trait you guys are looking for?
A couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
High agency is number one.
Yeah.
Curiosity and wanting to learn. Like those are my top two.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have
Love it.
those things, like you're gonna be successful in anything you do.
Amen. Amen. Thank you guys for sharing the questions. Thanks for answering some non-business questions today
Yeah,
too.
that's
But we
good.
really
You threw a
appreciate
tough
this.
one at me.
Yeah, you did. Well, I thought
not
you
our
might.
fault. It's
I
Scott's.
thought you
You mad at
might
him.
philosophically appreciate it.
No, I did.
You did a good
fun.
job, and
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, 100%. Well, guys, thank you so much for,
Thanks so much for having
being
us.
on this
thank
show
you.
today.
Yeah,
I
enjoyed it.
loved it. If you guys were positively impacted by everything that Zach and Lee had to share, or any of the conversation that we had, please consider sharing it with a friend, share it with a coworker, share it with a head of sales or a CEO, and make sure that it gets in their hands soon. So just shoot them a text right now and say, hey, check this out, and let me know what you think. If you like this podcast and you're listening in on Apple or on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. We'd really appreciate it and love to hear your feedback. And then on YouTube, LinkedIn, anywhere else you're watching this, would love to hit that like button, please. Just smash it, hit the like button, and subscribe so you can get more of this great podcast where we have amazing guests like
awesome.
Lee and Zach. So y'all go impact the world for good. We'll see you next time.